So let's have a little chat, shall we? I know I'm talking a little low, but that's because my boyfriend's asleep and I don't want to disturb him. Um, but I wanted to talk about some things. Let's have a little occult chat. I feel energized, I feel optimistic, and I just feel like talking about a few things that were on my mind, that crossed my mind um, here lately, if I can remember what they are. I remember. I've noticed something that's been happening lately in the occult world, in the magical world. I'm not talking about no fucking YouTube communities or nothing like that, or no cults. I'm not talking about no conscious cults and no other cults that are on YouTube. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the occult world, the real occult world. You see, sometimes you have to really go into the darkness to get the answers and the light that you need. And I did a special meditation, or what people would call a meditation, yesterday. I'm not going to call it a ritual because that word has been thrown around so much. And I want to be different than the rest. Let's just say I did some communication work with my inner spirit, my inner verse. And I got some information that was that I wanted to hear and that I needed to know. So this video is going to be about a few things. The first thing that I wanted to talk about, which is what I am noticing, which I mentioned earlier, is, and I discovered this, a lot of people who are on lower vibrating frequencies, I've noticed that they are being taken out. They are being eliminated and removed. People that are on lower vibrating frequencies. And I'm seeing it more and more. And when I say that, this is not a good, it's not about good or bad, or good and evil or bad and good. It's not about that. It's simply understanding energetic frequencies and planetary frequencies and where you fit into it, and what dimension are you connected to. Are you compatible with certain dimensions? Because see, what really happens is, and what really causes people to go kind of off balance, is that you're not connecting to the right dimension in your current life path. Life paths, listen to me now because I'm a life path master. Life paths don't stay the same. And the reason I know that I'm a life path master, it's not from an ego sense. It's just that I understand life paths, and I understand that most, they don't stay the same. And we have to understand that when we're going into certain phases in our lives that are connected to numerical symbology, for example, when you are a certain age, you break down the numbers and you break it down to the single digit, then that's the dimension or the planetary energy that you're up under. For example, I like to talk about the number nine because the number nine is when I awakened. That was, for me, I don't care about anybody else and how they define it. For me, I awakened under the vibration of the number nine, under the new beginning. Okay? Because the number nine is the vibration or the planetary frequencies that you go up under, or energy that you go up under before you go into a new beginning or a rebirth. Okay? And I understand that. That is where I got my life path mastery from. I didn't get it from no bitch ass motherfucking niggas on no motherfucking YouTube. I didn't get it from no psychotic motherfuckers on YouTube or online, or no motherfucking what do they call those things? Orisha houses and all that bullshit. No, I got it from the universe. I got it from God. Let's just say that, so people can understand it. I got it from Christ, not in the religious sense, but I walked the path of Christ and I did the work. And that is why I'm a life path master, master of my own destiny and journey for the most part. Okay? So that is why I understand that when you get into certain stages of your life, things happen for different reasons, different challenges for different seasons. And we have been under a hypnotic sleep for so long that we have forgotten this knowledge. But up under the number nine is when you gain the most knowledge. When I was up under the vibration of the number nine, I met Christopher Barry, someone who was very, very significant in my life on a spiritual level. Okay? And when he died, it devastated me. But the devastation was not so much about his death per se, it was about the change that was taking place in me already that I wasn't aware of at that time. So now, when I go back up under that vibration of the number nine, or I connect to that dimension again, I will be prepared for whatever comes my way. When I walk that path again, I will be a little bit more prepared for what happens to me. And that's what makes me a master, a life path master. And nobody can take that away from me, and nobody can take it away from you either, because a lot of you are walking that path now. So that all ties into what I'm saying about people who are on lower vibrating frequencies, who are perishing. They're perishing and they're being taken out because they are not compatible. Their energies are no longer compatible with the changing and the shifting of the energies that are taking place here on the earth. You know, the place that everybody wants us to think is a prison. But like I told you before, the earth is not a prison, because if it is indeed as above so below, if you believe that this is a prison, then that's what it will become for you. Or take it a step further, if the ancients called this place a prison back in the, if they left information saying that earth was actually a prison, then is it safe to assume that if we are all powerful like black people are supposed to be, then is it safe to assume that we created this prison for a reason? Or did we create a prison in our mind on a collective level, and then it trickled down from the astral into the physical, and now all of a sudden earth is a prison, right? This is what people want us to believe, that earth is a prison, and that the ancients left information that basically said this. But what if the ancients created this prison? What if they created, if this is a prison, what if they created it? See, I don't believe that this is a prison. I believe it's a very hard learning school. I think it's more like a school. And it's a very difficult school at times. And when we're in real grade school, a lot of times we think that is a prison until we go home at 3 o'clock. So the question remains, who created this prison and why? Now, if you ask me, I think the ancients created this illusion of a prison because they wanted us to learn something from their past mistakes. And the question remains, are we learning it? Let me take it a step further. And this is something that people are not ready for, possibly, which I don't give a fuck, but it is what it is. Go back to the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusader. And in that movie, we didn't know, well, of course, we knew Indiana Jones had a father, but we didn't know who his father was up until that particular that particular movie in the franchise, The Last Crusader, which was about they were searching for the chalice, or rather the cup. If you don't know what a chalice is, it's a cup. They were searching for the chalice that Christ drank out of at the Last Supper. And I believe they found it because the chalice, excuse me, held great knowledge, wisdom, and healing powers. When they found it in this underground like cave that was isolated from the rest of civilization in the modern world. Most people didn't even know that it was there. And I might have talked about this in an earlier video, but to make a long story short, one guy drank out of one of the chalices. There were many chalices, and there was a gatekeeper there guarding the chalices. And he was guiding the people, telling them, you can drink out of any one of these chalices. Okay? And one of the guys drank out of the chalice, and the chalice that he chose was so beautiful. It was gold. It had rubies and diamonds and you know emeralds and sapphires. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it looked like it came from heaven. It was beautiful. And he drank from the chalice. And you know what happened to him? He began to wither away. His skin began to burn off of his body. And he turned to dust. And the gatekeeper said to him, you didn't choose wisely. Then Indiana Jones picked a chalice. He picked a chalice and he drank from it. He picked a chalice that was beat up, didn't look all that great. And he drank from it. And nothing happened to him. And the gatekeeper told him, you chose wisely. The point that I'm trying to make is this, and this is something that people may not be ready for, but there were hundreds, if not thousands, of those chalices. And what that really, symbolized, or what that really foretold, or the story that was being told within the story on a subconscious pattern quantum level, was that there have been many different Christ. Some of them made wise choices and some of them did not. And those chalices were reflections of the choices that they made. Now, the first guy who drank out of the first chalice, that particular Christ was all about materialism and self gratification, and they really didn't that particular Christ and that chalice was connected to materialism, self gratification, licentious. How can I put this? Licentianism. I'm gonna say licentianism. I'm trying to create a word because that's what gods do. Licentianism, which means physical pleasures, hedonism, whatever you want to call it. That is what that Christ and that is what that energy was connected to. It was a very low vibrating frequency, a very low vibrating form of Christ. Okay? A very low vibrating form of Christ. That is why he perished, that guy, when he drank out of that chalice. Because he chose to tap into a very lower vibration, which is what we see a lot of now in the black occult conscious community. Because as much as those motherfucking worthless niggas try to say that they're not connected, they are. They are. They're connected. They just don't want people to know it. See, Bobby Hemmett, he chose wisely. And I know people think, oh, well, he had a stroke. And some people say that, oh, he was cursed and people threw energy at him. Whatever. He chose wisely. And I can see that. And what I find interesting is that when his spirit was talking to me, Mr. Hemmett's spirit, and that doesn't mean that he physically died. It just means that the spirit that we knew as Mr. Hemmett is probably no longer in that physical shell. You know what I mean? So, no, I'm not saying that because I don't know. That ain't my business. But I'm making a spiritual point because his spirit has communicated with me on more than one occasion. And because he was such on a higher spiritual hierarchy, he was showing me and trying to get me to understand to choose wisely so you will not perish before you want to. And now I get it. I get why he came to me, in the spirit. Because he was telling me, make sure you choose wisely. Because my spirit is on a higher frequency. So that's why I was able to communicate, with his energy. See, Bobby Hemmett chose wisely. That's why people don't see him anymore. He chose wisely. He did his work. And then he went on about his business. It doesn't matter what his health status is. He drank out of the right cup. He did the right thing for him. And that is why he will go on and he will never perish. No matter what anybody says. Okay? And that is why he has the respect and the admiration that he does. Because he chose wisely. He drank out of the right cup. So the point that I'm making is Bobby Hemmett was a form of the Christ. And there have been many different Christ, and all of them didn't make the right choice. So when that man drank out of that golden, beautiful chalice, the one that I told you that had all the diamonds and rubies and emeralds, when that man drank out of that, he was only looking at the materialism. He wasn't really doing any real inner work. And the real jewel is inside of you, in the work that you do, or that voodoo. And I'm not talking about sticking pins in dolls, and I'm not talking about cursing people and all that type of stuff. That has a place, a time, and a place. All of that stuff has its own time and season and place when you need to do work for you and when you need to do your voodoo for somebody else, on somebody else, especially when people are trying to be aggressively against you and trying to harm you. You can use you can defeat those. These are wise words. You can defeat those who challenge you, but you must motherfucking surrender to the higher spirit, which is your higher self. You have to surrender to that energy. And the reason that we are seeing people perish, it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter how high they think they are on an advanced level. Thinking and knowing are two different things. I know I'm advanced spiritually. I know that. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I know it. I'm glad people may recognize it, but I know it. And most of you that genuinely watch me, you're drawn to me because you're on a higher spiritual level as well. And you're feeling the frequency. So because most people are drinking out of the wrong chalice, because most people are tapping into the lower frequencies. And this has nothing to do with whether you eat meat or not, because it's a lot of fucking vegans who are on lower vibrating fucking frequencies, okay? So get that motherfucking shit straight, bitches. Get that shit straight. Get it straight. It's about your state of consciousness. And if you are a slave to anything, you're a slave. The reason most people are perishing and having a hard time in this new energy is because they have invested most of their lives drinking out of the wrong chalice. And the display of all of the chalices in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusader that gatekeeper was watching over was a historical account of all of the different Christ that made mistakes. Some of them made mistakes, and some of them made wise choices. And the thing is, we are the Christ. All of us have it within us. You, me, we are all the Christ. But the problem is you get kooks and you get self-depraved people who operate in the lowest forms of human self-depravity, who use what they know with the occult and so-called magic to hypnotize people. I'm talking about these low-level magicians, to hypnotize people into following them, giving them money, and constantly staying around them. And sometimes it takes a person to really mistreat you for you to wake up and realize this person is not who they say they are. There's a difference between being a stern person and a straightforward person like myself. I'm very stern and I'm no motherfucking nonsense. But it's a whole different story entirely when you lack integrity and when you lack compassion. Integrity and compassion ties into spirit. Those are spirits. And when you lack spirit, then your melanin is not operating the way that it should. And most of these men, black men in that conscious community, they lack spirit. They lack Christ because their heart chakras are turned off. And I know that sounds layman and stupid, but just so people can understand, their heart chakras are not operating the way that it should. They lack compassion, they lack empathy, and they operate on a very low vibrating narcissistic level. Let me put it to you this way. Being a narcissist will get you there, motherfucker, but it will not keep you there in the long run. Because remember, no matter what none of them motherfuckers say, they gonna reincarnate like everybody else too. You can believe you're not gonna come back. You can hope you're not gonna come back. You can think that you see that you're not gonna come back, but you motherfuckers are gonna come back like every motherfucking body else. Unless you're like Bobby Hemmett, who did his work. He actually lived the life of a Christ. He came, he did his work, and then he left. And he's been reborn through other people. He came, he did his work, and then he left. And it's so amazing because he took, just like Christ, he took one piece of fish and a loaf of bread, and he fed not 5,000 people, but he fed millions of people. The fish and the bread, fish is knowledge, because they say fish is brain food. What they were really talking about was how Jesus gave the people so much knowledge and spirit. The bread represents spirit because that's nourishment for the body. The fish represents knowledge and nourishment for your mind and your brain. And that's what they were really talking about. And that's what Bobby Hemmett did. He was that motherfucking nigga. And there've been and don't get me wrong, there've been others that are like him too. Christopher Barry was a form of the Christ. Tupac was a form of the Christ. Even though people try to hate on Tupac, they try to hate on him, but he was a form of the motherfucking Christ too. But Tupac made a lot of mistakes in his journey. And he knows that. He made mistakes, and there are things he wished he could have done better. There are things he wished he could have done to have extended his life. He wished he would have gotten out of, he wished he would have stuck with what his passion was, which was acting. His passion, his real passion was acting. And he wishes he would have stuck with that and not have gotten into that toxic rap industry and that toxic industry in general. That is what he wishes. But the good thing about it Him going into the rap industry, it made him a legend. It made him a legend in ways that people that hate on him will never fucking see. People that hate on him will people that hate on him will never be a legend in the way that he is. Never. He will live on for millions, if not billions of years, as long as there's a civilization here on this earth. So the point that I'm making is this, and I know I've babbled and gotten off topic, but that's what I do. I'm the occult view. The occult intertwines with so many different things. The occult is spirit and knowledge and wisdom all in one, like the Baphomet. The point that I'm making is this. A lot of lower level people are dying out. They're perishing because they have invested only in one thing. They've invested in materialism. They've invested in poverty. They've invested in usury, manipulation. All of these things are lower level, illusionary, narcissistic energies. And like I said earlier, and I'm going to repeat it, being a narcissist will get you there, but it won't keep you there in the long run. Your spirit will die. Your spirit will die. And that's what happened to that man in the movie Indiana Jones. His spirit died. We actually saw the symbol of what happens when a spirit dies. To take the physical Hollywood tricks and effects out of your mind. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the symbol of it. When you choose the wrong frequencies that are not aligned with yours. He wanted materialism. It's the same thing when you choose a mate. Child, ain't he fine? He's 6'4", muscles. He got a big dick. And I'm talking about how us gays act sometime. Child, he good looking, child. He got a good job. He drive a $80,000 car. He owns a 6-bedroom house that he's in by himself. You know why he in it by himself? Because he has HIV and he's HIV positive. But you go over there and you fuck him raw. Or here we go with men, straight men. Damn, dog, she fat to death, slim. She got them big old titties, man. Yeah, my nigga, yeah. She got a big old fat booty. She this, she that. Yeah. She fine as a motherfucker, man. I'm gonna get that pussy. And then she sets you up to be murdered. Like this woman that used to do that to hustlers here in the DC area back in the 80s named Wicked Wanda until they killed that bitch and shot her in her face down there at that school playground back in the 90s because she was responsible for setting up a lot of black men who were hustlers. She set them up for other hustlers. Your human eyes always trick you. They always trick you. When I first contacted someone, I'm just going to say someone, I'm not going to mention the person's name. It was a man. When I first contacted this person for spiritual information, I already knew how he felt about homosexuals and gay people. Some of you may know who I'm talking about, some of you may not. But I already knew who he was, how he felt about homosexuals and gay people and how he continues to feel about them. But I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater because I was looking beyond that. I was looking beyond, what came out of his mouth, but I was looking at that particular time, I was looking at the archetype that he was, and I got what I needed at that time. And boy, did I. Because sometimes you have to look beyond the veil to really understand. You can't always go by, what comes out of a person's mouth per se. Sometimes it's deeper than that. Oftentimes it's deeper than what you think, you know? So when I contacted this person, I was thoroughly satisfied with the spiritual information that they gave me at that time. Again, at that time. Because we have to remember it's about time and the energies that we're up under, because we always go back to the same energies. And I was not going to allow my human um, resistance or my human thoughts to keep me from getting knowledge that would benefit me. Despite how he may have felt about gay people, despite how he may have felt about me personally. Well, he doesn't like me now, and I don't like him either. But that's fine. I don't give a fuck about that. I got what I needed, and that's the point. How I feel about that person on a human level, it doesn't really matter. I can say what the fuck I want and do what the fuck I want. But I'm just giving you an example of how sometimes the right thing may come in the wrong package. And he was someone that came in the wrong package, but it was what I needed at that time. I don't need it anymore. And once you don't need stuff anymore, that's when people start falling out and having issues, and they don't get along, and they start having disagreements and stuff, because that relationship has ran its course. And I am a person that never goes where I'm not wanted. I never go where I'm not welcomed anymore, and I never go where I'm not liked. I'm okay with not being liked. I'm okay with that, because I didn't come here to be liked. I came here to learn, to have learning experiences. I didn't come here to be liked. If I find people along the journey who admire me, who we can have a mutual respect for one another, and it leads to a lifelong friendship, then I'm all for that. But that's not my motivation. My motivation is to do work and to learn and to prosper and to walk in peace. Happiness is a wild card, because depending on what's going on in your life, you can't always be happy. So I will settle for peace, you know? But the reason a lot of these people are perishing is because they're not tapped into the Christ consciousness. They're not tapped into the Christ consciousness. See, this is what people have confused. See, there's a rise in Christ consciousness, and you're not being caught up in the rapture. This is the rapture. And a lot of people are being left behind. And it's not about being left physically. I'm talking about your consciousness is not expanding. Your knowledge and your wisdom and your hearts are not elevating, which is connected to your mind and the unknown dimensions of the quantum reality, the realm of God, or gods, or Christ. And that goes for anybody. Nobody is above that. If you're not getting it, you're not getting it. And the problem with a lot of people is that they don't know when their time is up. They don't know when to step aside. Mr. Hemet knew that his time, he'd done all he was supposed to do. He did everything he was supposed to do. He fulfilled his destiny. That's what he was supposed to do. He took a piece of fish and one piece of bread and fed millions of people. Not food for your mouth, but food for your spirit, food for your mind. That's what a true Christ does. It's not about homes and and money, and it's not about that. It's not about that. That's demiurge teachings. That's demiurge lower level gods that a lot of us have fallen into those traps, thinking that we're getting channels and thinking that we're talking to spirits, but you're really being tricked by demiurge lower level gods, thinking that you're getting channels about this and channels about that. How do you know you're talking to a real spirit? How do you know that? How do you know? That's right, you don't have no motherfucking spirit. So you don't know. You don't have no spiritual discernment, so you don't know. A lot of the channels that people are getting, it's not coming from the real spirit realm. It's coming from the demiurge realm. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I'm done talking about that. Another thing I wanted to talk about right quick. Who are these people with these robotic voices that are going around making videos mainly of black well known celebrities, basically putting out, I want to call it death magic on them, trying to throw out energy to wish death on them? Now, Oprah is not one of my favorite people, but I don't wish no death on her, okay? They have videos talking about Oprah was really sick from pneumonia, and she was really sick with pneumonia 3 fucking years ago in 2019, 2.5, 3 years ago. But they're reporting it like it just happened. And they've done these types of weird videos with multiple black celebrities. It's almost as if they're doing some type of spell work to try to wish or to manifest or to bring about some physical harm to some of our black celebrities. And I ain't really into black celebrities like that or celebrities in general, but I'm just making the point. Who are these weirdos doing this? And it's always someone behind a robotic voice. I just find that very disturbing. They will post videos making you think that the person died, but then when you click on it, I know clickbait, I get that, but that's very serious because they're putting out energy into the universe to make it manifest. And that's very disturbing. Very disturbing. Let me see if there's anything if there's anything else I wanted to talk about before I go to bed. Um no, not really. Make sure you choose though the right chalice. You can enjoy money and you can enjoy, having a good life and not living in poverty. But the problem is that you have people who enjoy these things at the expense of harming other people. And that's the problem. That's the problem. I was doing some work, and my spirit said to me, this was the other day, yesterday, the other day, one day, I don't remember. But going back to what I was saying earlier, I was doing some, let's just say, ritualistic work. Okay. And my spirit spoke to me because I was asking about, what's going on with the stuff going on with COVID and, all of these things that have been arising and happening in the past 2 years. And you know what my spirit told me? My spirit said, there will never be a time on this earth where we will not have obstacles and change. COVID is about change. It's about change. Now, people have taken advantage of it and they've used it for their own agendas, and I'm talking about whomever. But ultimately, this was supposed to be an opportunity for us to sit back, sit down, be quiet, be by ourselves, and listen to your heart, and listen and find the Christ that's within you, the Christ energy that's within you, the God that's within you. That is really what this opportunity was for. But we will never be, ever be, free from obstacles and change as long as you have a physical life and live in a physical body. And I think that the misconception that this is a prison really comes from the fact that when you're in a physical body, it is like being in a prison in a sense sometimes, because your spirit can't really be free the way that it can be, or the way that it should be, rather, when you no longer have a physical body. And that's for some people, that's not for all people. Some people get stuck, spirit gets stuck, and they get caught in, whatever cycle that they created for themselves here on earth. Then I asked my spirit, how much longer will we have to go through this this pandemic, or whatever, the stuff that's happening. And my spirit came back through again and said, there will never be a time. And I would like to think that that was the voice of the God within me, that there will never be a time where you won't be tested, that you will not be that you will not experience obstacles and change and upheaval, because again, you're in a physical body. So I asked again, I said, when will this end? And I kept getting the number 2023, 2024, 2025. So things will really probably be back to somewhat of normalcy around 2025. But we have to remember something. 2025 will be up under the vibration of the number 9. And you notice how that has a rhyme to it. So just as we will be coming out of that challenge, there could be another one on the horizon. Sometimes it skips, sometimes. But I've noticed that when we go up under the cycle of the Christ energy, which is the number 9, when we go up under that energy, there's a lot of challenges there. And that's symbolic for the 9 cycles and the 9 cycles of Christ. Christ didn't come here to have an easy life. He came here to learn, and I'm saying he just for symbolic reasons. So around maybe between 2023 and 2025, we will start seeing a little bit more normalcy. That's what my spirit told me. But in the meantime, make sure you choose the right chalice. Make sure you choose the right chalice. Because if you don't, you will perish. This is Sia Grant, aka The Occult View. And that's it. Have a good day.